Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Tom Slivick with Supervisor
Louis Boitano.
Louis Boitano, my supervisor. You know, when I start to think of clever things, for some reason I get lost. All right, so Louis, before we get into some of the things, you know, you were now California State Association of Counties. You represent Amador County there, right?
All 58 counties. I've been reappointed to the board of directors, and I've been on that for a few years now. And so it's all the business of all 58 counties and state government and all the bills they pass trying to take our money. And so it's an interesting time.
Okay, where do they mostly meet?
When do they mostly meet?
Yeah, or where?
Where they meet in Sacramento,
okay.
Downtown, right across from the cathedral,
okay.
in the plaza there.
Okay, I know where that is.
And all 58 counties usually have their representatives gathered there. Sometimes they phone in and do it by phone.
We're pretty well represented, Amador County, in these state associations, aren't we? You know, and which brings me to you know, Ted Novelli, Supervisor Ted Novelli, who just recently was appointed. We had that story in the news to.
He was elected, actually.
Actually elected.
Cal LAFCO, and you have to run for the board of directors. He's been on there for about 3 years now. He ran again, and he's been progressing up the ladder. He was secretary, and now he is the chairman for the statewide Cal LAFCO.
That's pretty good.
And they oversee, you know, LAFCOs oversee. That you have the services. If you want to be annexed, you can provide the services. Orderly growth.
It's kind of like border disputes between
cities and
different
counties.
Cities, counties.
We want this because we want that car dealership in
right.
the city. We'll take
right.
it away from the county. Those kind of things.
So a lot of that, a lot of activity statewide.
Yeah, we're busy in RCRCs, Regional Council of Rural Counties. Supervisor Forster sits on that board, and it's all the rural counties, and it's over half the counties in the state belong to that now.
Right.
So it's an interesting group too, and they're all advocates for keeping an eye on the legislation that's going on at the Capitol.
Okay, that's great. And we want to talk about Floyd Martin, Veteran Service Officer, who's done a fine job here in Amador County, and he is going to be missed. And but you know, I'm sure he could use retirement.
Floyd's a hard worker, and what a great advocate for the veterans. He's been at it since 2000, and he will be sorely missed. But what a great guy and hard worker, and you know, he's just, you know, it's tough boots to fill, but nevertheless, we're going to start looking.
Okay, and he's been that since 2000, so we've had him for 12 years now.
Yeah, before him was Jerry Tonick, and he retired, and then Floyd, and so now we have to look for somebody else. And so when Floyd was given the position, we interviewed about 3 or 4 fine candidates, so I have a feeling that we'll have some good candidates coming up that are interested in that job. And the main thing is we want to take care of the veterans. That's so important.
Right. Are there any prerequisites that a person has to have? Does a person have to be a veteran to? You
have to be a veteran, and it would be really good if you're really well developed in computer skills, because it's a lot of paperwork and everything's on the computer now.
Do they go to classes? The candidates, say if a candidate gets gets that position to bone up on all the stuff. I mean, I went down and talked to Floyd, and he about things, and he handed me a stack of papers that a person has to go through to see if they qualify for veterans benefits and things like that. You know, so there's quite a lot of programs, and there's a lot of knowledge that I would think one needs to stay up on that.
Oh,
do people just come in with that?
No, I think you'd have to go down and take some schooling on it, because it's all forms and papers. So, they'd make you familiar with that. And I don't think it's all that complicated, but it's a lot of paperwork and a lot of stuff to keep track of.
Okay, all right. And we're going to be talking a little bit about. Maybe we're going to be talking more about Measure Q. Before we get to Measure Q, why don't we talk about Measure U? There's probably not a lot to talk about Measure U on the ballot, but why don't you go ahead?
Abandoned Vehicle Authority,
right.
Prop 218. Actually, the authority's been collecting $1 on your vehicle registration fee for about 20 years now. But then somebody come up with a thought, well, that's a tax, and should have went through a 218 vote, even though 218 was enacted after the time that's been done. So what we're asking is the voters to approve this tax, the dollar fee on your license. And what it goes for is we've abated thousands of vehicles, junkers, cars that don't run on public property as well as private property over the last 20 years. So it's really been a great thing. And, there's good times and bad times in that. And sometimes when we get these vehicles, we have a place to store them down at the county landfill. And then some junkers will come in and scrap them, and we make money on them. But sometimes scrap's way down and you don't get anything, and then they charge us to take these vehicles. So we really like to keep this thing going. It's just been a great thing for the county. Like I say, we've abated thousands of vehicles, and you never know what's out there. I ran across, you go into a place and there'd be 200 vehicles that somebody had hoarded. They're hoarders. They bring them in, and I had one individual in my district, and he had a great source of getting these vehicles, and he had 30 or 40 right in the residential area, and people were complaining.
We're going to come back, and everybody can think of who that might be during our break, and then we'll be back with the Supervisor Louis Boitano. Stay with us here on TSPN. You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN. Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I hope you're working on that question, who might be squirreling away 200 cars. But anyway, before we get there, you had some good news you wanted to bring about
Calafco. Yeah, they have a wine and beer competition, and Amador County won third year in a row the wine competition. So our wines are really sought after down there. So it's really good to win again. We weren't trying either, but we won again.
Do we let France and the rest of the world know about our wins like that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
our wine's a lot better. Don't get any better Zinfandel than Amador County.
Okay, I know we're getting a great reputation for that, and that's really good. That's a lot of tourism base. Also, we were talking, let's go back to Measure U about the cars, $1, and this is a 218 process that I guess every county's either going through this time or is going to have to go through to get that $1 a car, or maybe, I guess for each county it could be different.
It could be higher or lower or whatever they want to.
So that brings me to the question, like, Louis, when they find a car and, along the road, how much does it about cost the county before they can put that in a junkyard?
It costs quite a bit because they have to verify that they have to check the VIN number, so you got the code enforcement officer's time, and then they always have a deputy go out and he gets the actual VIN number and they verify it, and then they have to post it, a notice on the car. It has to stay there so long, and then they have to return, and then eventually after they go through all their administrative process, then they can tow it. And then you got to pay the guy to come tow it and take it down to the landfill. And like I say, sometimes they're, if scrap's high, they're worth something. But in other years, scrap's way down, they're worth nothing, and it costs you quite a bit of money to have them hauled off. So, we always put that out for bid, and the vendors from the valley are the ones that usually get them and take them down to wrecking yards.
The way you see it is this is a good thing to vote on. It puts $1 in a kitty for Amador County for each vehicle to make sure these junkers get off the road. Or how about code enforcement? If they're by houses and things like that.
Yeah.
Anything on that?
If you got a complaint, they'll go in and check. It has to be operable, and if it's not operable, then it can be towed, providing they go through the administrative process, and they can tow them off private property as well. So, like I say, this individual that was in my district had about 30 cars or so up there, and finally, it took a long time, but they were all abated, and actually the house was lost to foreclosure. So the neighborhood's cleaned up. My neighbors in this area are happy, and once again, county government did their job.
Okay.
We stayed on it.
All right. This is going to bring us into Measure Q, the transit occupancy tax that's on the ballot. Tell us about that, Louis.
All right. Well, this is brought forth by the Business Council and Amador Council of Tourism, and Sutter Creek, Jackson, and Ione are at 10% transit occupancy tax. And a lot of people get that confused. They don't understand what that is. That's if you come to Amador County and you stay in one of our motel hotels, you're charged 6% right now in the county, 10% in those cities. Fee extra, and that money comes back. And what the county's been doing is we take that money and invest back into advertising the county, so we get more tourism.
Right.
It's better for everybody all around.
Every year I hear the groups that come before the board and ask for some of the TOT monies to go back in to help bring more tourism into the county. So this is a typical way that counties, I guess, or that businesses that deal with basically the house of people that come here help promote more tourism.
Yeah, and who doesn't like tourism? They come, they spend their money, and hey, they leave. And what a great thing. And basically, tourism's a big deal in this county. You know, Sutter Gold Mine, when it was operating the tours over there in the 10, 12 years that they were operating, they had over 500,000 visitors. You know, those people come to town, they buy lunch, they tour the mine, they go shopping in the antique stores, and I know that's sorely missed.
What was fun about that tour as well was to be able to see where a lot of those people came from, because I believe they gave them pins, and they could go on a world map and put from where they were in the world, and everywhere in the world
it was covered.
Were represented.
Yeah,
you know,
it was
especially
covered.
for visiting things about Gold Rush.
You know, the only argument that I've heard against the TOT tax is Supervisor Novelli was just up at the senior center, and they were quizzing him about it a little bit, and they're saying, well, some of the homeless people, the churches and stuff, are paying for them to stay in a motel. And I understand that, but maybe the motel hotel people can eat that, write that off, or whatever, but I think it would be a good thing. There's nothing like promoting our county. And again, you know, we were talking about Amador County, won the first place in wines again at Cal LAFCO. We need the tourism. Bring them in.
So if you want to do a couple days worth of wine tasting, you're going to have to find a place to stay.
Yeah, well, I just recently stayed in San Francisco, I think last year, and wow, talk about a TOT tax there. I think it was a couple $100 by the time I got out of there extra for the 3 or 4 days that I stayed there. So it's expensive. And by the time you pay for parking and their TOT tax and on and on and on.
You know, since the money's basically used for tourism, sometimes I wonder why don't they just, you know, charge the money and then do the tourism themselves, meaning the people that, you know, the hotel motels.
Well, so I think you had that a little bit with the American Exchange. He was had a bus there at one time and was taking people around, showing them all the different mine sites, and then they wanted to go to the Shenandoah Valley, he would take them up there. So yeah, that could be done too. You know, I think it's a great thing. You know, it's investing back into your county, and you know, I just hope there's a way we can get around, you know, this issue with the senior center, and that they understand.
I felt like once, you know, in the earliest times of this, once they were able to pull the campgrounds out from the TOT tax, I personally felt it was a much fairer way of looking, you know, at paying for TOT tax. And like you say, point out, it's widely done. You know, it's standard operating procedure.
Yeah, every county has it, and city, county, and you know, the individual cities, all that money goes to them, that it's collected, and we want to bring it up from 6% to 10%, so we could be even with the cities, and then that'll go back into, you know, promoting tourism with the Amador Council of Tourism and the Business Council.
Right, and that is where the money goes.
Yes, and that was the other question. They were concerned that we were going to take it off the top. We won't do that. We set stuff for a purpose, and we utilize it for that purpose. It's just we couldn't do it in good conscience, and they'll be keeping an eye on us.
Okay, so 2 measures that'll be found on our ballot here. Measure Q for the TOT, transit occupancy tax, and Measure U, the the vehicle abatement fee for abandoned vehicles to get them off, and both of them kind of help tourism. You don't want to see those junky cars at the side of the road.
You certainly don't.
Okay. Well, Louis, thanks for stopping
Tom.
by, and thanks for watching TSPN. Stay with us. There's more news coming up on the other side of this break.
You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN.